Critiques with Cait. I'm your host, Caitlin. Today I have a very special guest with me in the studio today. Dawn Allen is an assistant professor of English at Northwestern Oklahoma State University. She holds a bachelor's degree in English education from Pittsburg State University in Pittsburg, Kansas, and a master's degree in writing from the University of Nebraska in Omaha, Nebraska. How are you today, Dawn?
I'm good, Caitlin. How are you?
I'm great. All right, so to start out, I'm going to read a little summary of the plot, and then we'll get started. So, in To Kill a Mockingbird, author Harper Lee uses memorable characters to explore civil rights and racism in the segregated southern United States in the 1930s. Told through the eyes of Scout Finch, you learn about her father, Atticus Finch, an attorney who hopelessly strives to prove the innocence of a black man unjustly accused of rape, and about Boo Radley, a mysterious neighbor who saves Scout and her brother Jim from being killed. So, to start out, we're going to talk a little bit about the plot of the book and why Dawn chose to use it as an educator, and we'll just go from there. So, my first question is, since you've taught for many years, why did you choose To Kill a Mockingbird as part of your curriculum?
It's actually chosen by a committee, and I was on the committee, and what we did was look at the books that were used across the United States at the freshman level, and this was one of them.
All right. So, as an educator, what was your first impression of the novel as a whole when you tried to teach?
To Kill a Mockingbird is richly written, but its social justice issues make it problematic in today's world to teach. It has a lot of hard truths that even today I think we struggle with. And so the biggest difficulty in teaching it is being aware of that.
Mm-hmm. I know you love analyzing archetypes, so what archetypes can be found within the novel and how do they play a role in the plot?
Well, there are a lot of archetypes in it. Everything from the consummate lawyer hero archetype of Atticus Finch. You have the consummate evil dark guy in Bob Ewell. You've got the sacrificial lamb in Tom Robinson, who's accused of a crime he didn't commit and is punished for it. You have Scout, who is a child, but moving into those adolescent years. And it's really that coming of age part of the story that makes it so pivotal for young adult readers.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to play a soundbite of a review by Fabian on Goodreads.com, so if you don't mind taking a listen.
Thus, it becomes crystal clear why this classic is a must for kids. Surely it stands on an even shelf with the Harry Potter series. Take in mind, it's a millennial writing this review. It's ripe with conventions that can be cracked open in the classroom, where the love for literature begins for most American children. The emblematic character of Atticus Finch is a great figure. Mysterious, righteous, progressive, completely just and good. Intelligent, as is Scout, the precious girl who filters all the goings on in her sleepy Alabama town. It is a pity I did not read this in middle school, when foundations are forged with human values and the artistic possibilities of storytelling. That being said, I cannot but smile at finally, at 28, having plowed through this, a complicated and personal classic. It depicts a Gone with the Wind America. It has a strong point of view, which is restricted and accurate. The character is alive and becomes an avatar of the impressed young reader him/herself. It is a history lesson, a lesson in civics and law, a segue toward laws and government, and most importantly, it includes a lovable naivete which borders on the poetic, the coming-of-age strangeness, including body changes and adolescent yearnings. All of these are staples of the YA novel, because it includes pretty much each and every one. It is the quintessential YA book. It has aged, however, and it is easy to see where the conventions are deposited as if To Kill were a rough patchwork quilt of American literature musts.
All right. So, in hearing that, do you have any thoughts on it?
think one of the difficulties with To Kill a Mockingbird in studying it in this day and age is that we have a lot of shock value, right? There are racist terms and racist situations that we've been trying for decades to banish. The fact that we have not completely banished those leads people to fall into one of two camps with the book. One, that it's racist and they don't want their children reading it, and the other that if we ignore the past, we repeat it.
So, in your first time ever reading the novel, was there anything that surprised you by the storyline?
It's pretty standard for a coming-of-age story. I really kind of was taken in by Scout's voice, right? You know, she's an amazing character. And then you've got this mysterious Boo Radley, right, who has a history that just screams, should have been in a mental home, wasn't, probably bad things happened. And so there's a lot of empathy on the part of the reader for this man that then we see Scout do the same thing. She takes empathy on him.
Mm-hmm. So, in regards to Boo Radley, from an educator's perspective, what do you think about his character and the representations that he's given through Scout's narration?
Boo has no access to the outside world. And as such, I think he's very lonely, right? Mm-hmm. And so along come these children, and his only view of anything outside of his home is his neighbors, these children that play. And he wants so badly to interact with them in ways he didn't get to interact with his own peers as a child. Mm-hmm. And so his taking, you know, going outside, which I'm sure was something that was not allowed, but putting that at risk in order to find a way to communicate to these kids. And I really think the kids learn as much from Boo as they do from what's going on with Tom Robinson.
Mm-hmm. So, have you ever seen any aspect of this novel in other stories, since it is considered a classic?
Well, it really doesn't break new ground in terms of archetypical storytelling, because we see a lot of the someone going to jail for something they didn't do because of the color of their skin. We see a lot of drunk men who beat their kids and run around with mobs of equal-minded people. And so archetypically, that's not unique. But what is unique, and I think the whole thing for Harper Lee with this book, was that we see see some really dark and ugly things through the eyes of the child. Mm-hmm. And Scout's voice is so powerful that it's like taking a walk yourself as a child the first time you faced racism.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of race, To Kill a Mockingbird is known for controversy regarding race. Do you think this novel is just as impactful today as it was when it was first published?
I think it's probably more. We are, as a race, I believe, or maybe it's just that I want to believe, we are more open to things that are outside of our own understanding. And so for young people to be reading this book today, you know, there's some horrible language in it that is incredibly offensive. And yet, if we don't address that with kids in the classroom where it's safe, how are we ever going to get them to understand that it's wrong mm-hmm. when they hear it outside?
Mm-hmm. How did you cover this topic when you were still in the classroom with high school age students?
I used to open the unit with editorials and essays from modern times about the topics that are in the book so that the kids could see this is where we are today, right? But in Harper's time, this was different. And it's really, really important to keep this book in its time, in its place, right? We don't live that existence now, and we seek to get away from anything that resembles that today.
So for the final segue topic that I have is I want to discuss why the novel is considered a banned book. So book banning seems to be a pretty hot topic right now, and it's becoming more and more common, so we will listen to this.
Book banning, a form of censorship, occurs when private individuals, government officials, or organizations remove books from libraries, school reading lists, or bookstore shelves because they object to their content, ideas, or themes. Those advocating a ban complain typically that the book in question contains graphic violence, expresses disrespect for parents and family, is sexually explicit, exalts evil, lacks literary merit, is unsuitable for a particular age group, or includes offensive language.
So what are your thoughts on this? Should it be banned or not?
Well, I'm a writer and an English teacher. I don't believe in banning. If we turn our eyes away, as we have in our past history, and said, well, it doesn't involve us, so we won't intervene. A couple of world wars got started that way, right? It doesn't matter that it is difficult to hear or difficult to read unless it's because you're racist. Otherwise, you should be coming at it with an understanding of how can I make this better? How can I see to it that this book is understood, that this is how people were in that place and time, and we shouldn't be there ever again.
Do you think that there should be more books about this topic, and why?
Historically, yes, I do. But it's difficult because publishers are well aware of the difficulties of putting texts out in schools that are at all controversial. So it's hard to get them approved.
If someone can take only one thing away from reading this novel, what do you think it should be and why?
We're one people, you know? We need to look in others' faces in order to understand that. We're really good at being very self-modulated and only paying attention to what is in our space. But we're, as humans, alike, regardless of the color of our skin, the religion that we serve. We must, in order to live on this one planet we have in peace, we must be willing to see in others our flaws, our good parts, and be able to help them understand our way and make sure that they can help us understand their way.
Can you tell me a few of your favorite aspects about this novel?
Well, a lot of people favor the trial, the Atticus. The Atticus has become, just this huge thing. But for me, it's always been about the children, right? This is a story about 3 children who come of age in a highly difficult time, in a highly difficult place. And for me, we are here to learn from those children about how you handle a world that goes wrong on you.
All right, so to wrap everything up a little bit, To Kill a Mockingbird is considered a classic coming-of-age novel with dynamic characters whose story is still relevant today. As a banned book, the novel is being challenged in society every day around us. Thank you, Dawn, for coming in. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you for watching the final episode of Book Critiques with Cait. If you like this content, please like and share this video, and remember to subscribe to NWTV7 for future episodes. This has been Caitlin Hofen and Dawn Allen. Have a good day, everyone.